Great. Thank you so much for joining. We're going to get started. My name is Barbara Melodic, and I'm the marketing manager for FSL at Pearson in Canada. Thanks so much for joining us today and for taking time out of your schedule. If you joined us last week for the Mathologie overview with Jordan, thank you for coming back this week. And if you're joining us for the first time this week, well, thank you just the same. I'm going to turn it over to Jordan and we can get started. Thank you very much. Oh, one quick note is everybody is mute. If you have any questions, please ask them in the chat down probably on the bottom of your screen of the Zoom screen. If you click on the chat button, then you can just put your questions in there and I will be answering those throughout. We should also have some time at the end of the session as well for questions. So thank you very much, and I'll turn it over to you, Jordan.
All right, bonjour. So, just a couple of points before we get going that this is the French Mathologie Fluency webinar, but I will be presenting in English. If you're looking for me to be presenting in French, you can come back on Monday. So we do want this to be an interactive session. So Barbara's going to be on the chat for questions and comments. And if you just go to your chat, the blue button at the bottom, just make sure it's listed to or selected to all panelists and attendees so that everyone can see what you're putting up there. There's also the question and answer box if you want to send a private question to Barbara. So I'm going to start by introducing myself. My name is Jordan Sloan, and I am a consultant with Pearson, but I'm also a bilingual literacy coach for the Renfrew County District School Board. And I started with Mathologie when I was teaching kindergarten, when Mathologie came out in French for kindergarten. And as I moved up grades, Pearson expanded Mathologie, probably right along with me. So I ended up trying out the kindergarten, the grade 1 and the grade 2, as well as a combined grade 1 and 2 with my math students in French immersion. So you can see some of my students on the front there, and I'm going to try to slow down a little bit. But what I really love about Mathologie is the depth and the breadth of the learning that I've had with my students. So everything has been really hands-on. I can see what they're doing. I can see their behaviors. I can see their next steps. And it really made my life a lot easier in terms of planning because it was all there and I'm sure that what I was teaching was relevant and was linked to the curriculum. So I'm going to show you everything that's available and how you can use it right now in our current situation. So how you can use it on your online classrooms with parents, what you have access to. I also really love that my students moved along a progression. And we're going to spend a lot of time looking at the learning progression today. And what I really loved about that was that I could see the learning and I could understand the next steps. So I could see the behaviors that my students were showing while they were working. I could look up the next step that worked for them. I could quickly and easily differentiate. Everything was right there for me. And the best part is that I knew my students were understanding and were showing me that they could apply what they were learning. So to warm us up, I've got a question up here. This is a picture from one of our kindergarten petits livrets, Garderie pour chien chez Luc. And if you could just go into that chat box, make sure everything's working, and write down if you see any opportunities for addition and subtraction in this picture. And if so, what do you see?
Jordan, is the session you're planning today similar to the one you did for OAMI yesterday?
No.
Okay,
One
so
from OAME was yesterday, was the overview. This is just one of the same slides because
okay,
it goes for the fluency that we're going to work through today.
great. That was just one of the questions. Um, okay, so some people are seeing le grand chien, les petits chiens, les beaux, les tapis. How many bowls are there compared to dogs?
Ooh,
Blankets, bowls, adding dogs.
all right. So what I saw was combien de tapis. So how many mats are there? How many are there all together? We could look at the dogs on the right and the left of Dan, or Luc en français. We could look at little dogs and big dogs. We could look at dogs with and without a ball. And we could look at how many more small dogs are there than big dogs. So we're going to spend our time working through part of la progression des apprentissages. And so, as I mentioned, one of my favorite things about Mathologie is this learning progression. So I can see how my students are moving along. I know where they are, I know their next steps, and I know that I can incorporate the materials that you're going to see today and that you'll be able to explore on your own to move my students along this continuum. So today we're going to walk through one section, and just to show you a quick overview, you can see this circled area at the top, that's number. So all 5 strands are covered in the learning progression. So overall strand at the top, and then we can look at the big ideas, and then we can look at the concepts and the indicators. So what we're going to work through today is the big idea: les quantités et les nombres peuvent être additionnés et soustraits pour déterminer combien il y a d'éléments. So we're going to bring to life some of the progression of learning and see how students gain fluency with numbers to 20. And we're going to get right into some of the resources that move them along that progression. And you can see below, so we've got our big idea at the top, we've got our threads, and we've got our indicators. And this big idea is broken down into those 2 conceptual threads: developing conceptual meaning of addition and subtraction, and developing fluency of addition and subtraction computation. So we know that one doesn't come before the other, that these concepts are embedded right from the time our earliest learners come to kindergarten and move all the way through. And we know that this is important because addition and subtraction capitalize on the base 10 system to make computation more efficient than just counting all the time. So we're going to follow this model from kindergarten through to grade 3. And we're going to take a look at some of the activities, some of the cards, the black line masters, and the little books that move us along this progression. So we're going to start at the very beginning in kindergarten. And if you were at OAME yesterday, you saw the answer to this one. But do you see a situation of addition in this slide? Just give you a few seconds to write anything you see in the chat that you could use. And this is from one of the kindergarten little books, Un beau nid.
So I see 3 birds and 1 arriving. 3 birds in a nest and 1 more.
So as I mentioned, this is one of the kindergarten little books, and I'm going to show you a little bit later where you can go to access these online right now so that you can share them with students and parents and some activities that go along with them. But if I was using this with my kindergarten class, one thing I might pull in is the 5 frame. So with my students then I could say there were 3 birds in the nest and 1 more arrived. Or maybe my students just counted the birds, 1, 2, 3, 4. Or maybe using that 5 frame, they looked at it and thought, well, I know that this space is 5 and 1 less than that is 4. So our learners can be thinking about this in a lot of different ways so that they really become fluent with the idea of adding and subtracting within 5 and what 1 more and 1 less actually looks like. And that's the first step in the fluency part of our learning progression. Additionner, soustraire avec aisance à 5 chiffres près. And so we can use some of the line masters then to help differentiate for our students. And these are linked right to Un beau nid. So we'll take a quick look here. And if an idea pops into your head about how you might use these, pop them into the chat. The first one I'll show you is that 5 frame, and that's what I used on the front. And you can see that that's something you could print right off the website, or you could quite easily have parents draw that at home that they could use with their students.
So one of the ideas that was in the chat is to use 3 tokens of the same color and another one of a different color.
Right? Yep. We can also use number cards instead of the tokens, or we could use the number cards to represent the birds when they fly in and out. So in this book, we start with one bird in the nest, and then another comes along, another one comes along, and I won't ruin the ending for you. So I'll let it be a surprise for you when you go check out the book online. And you can also see a recording sheet. So students at home could take sticks or maybe some little rocks and represent the birds moving in and out of the nest. They could even draw or draw dots to represent the birds. So lots of different ways to use these line masters. So we can use them as they are from the website, or we can adapt them for use at home. All right, so another question. I'm not even going to say this in French right now because my voice is just a little off today. What equations of addition and subtraction to 10 do you see in this picture? So if you have any ideas, pop them into the chat about addition and subtraction equations to 10.
Five dogs on one side and 2 on the other. 5 plus 4. How many chairs are empty? Ten minus 8.
So lots of different situations that we can see just from this one image that we could put up. And again, this is a kindergarten book, Garderie pour chien chez Luc, or Dan's Doggy Daycare in English. So some of the ideas that we can see are 5 dogs on one side of the table and 2 on the other. We can see that there's 10 chairs altogether and 7 dogs, which leaves us with 3 empty chairs. We maybe can see that there are 10 chairs with 2 dogs on one side and 5 dogs on the other side, leaving us with 3. We can see 7 dogs plus how many more fills the 10 chairs. Or maybe we see the 7 full chairs and the 3 empty chairs. So this is the next step in our learning progression, which is additionner, soustraire avec aisance des quantités jusqu'à 10. And again, we've got some examples of the Black Line Masters that are available on the Pearson website that you can take a look at to help differentiate for your students. So we've got 10 frame. Just kind of think about how you might use these in your current situation in the way that you're teaching now. The second one here, we've got à l'intérieur ou dehors. So we've got pictures of the indoor and the outdoor playroom. There's a story template. So il y a combien de chiens, il y a des balles, il y a, and some blanks. And we've got some making 10 problems that have to do with the balls, the bones, and the dog bowls. So when we think about where our students are in their ability to work through with adding and subtracting to 10, there might be some students that really need support in acting out the situation. So that indoor-outdoor playground might be a good way to be really hands-on and really modeling. Some students might be ready to model with manipulatives and could go into those 10 frames. Some students might be ready to think about situations and what they are and the results. So different students we're going to see will need really different things. They're all developing fluency to 10, but have different supports and different needs. So the line masters that we have help us to differentiate for those students. And we can also work in some literacy. So that story template is set up there. Yes, it's about math thinking, but we're working on some reading and some writing. So we're going to continue along our learning progression with complements of 10. And this is a grade 1 activity card, 10 dans les piscines. And this is available on Mathologie.ca. And if you haven't signed up for your free trial yet, I will show you how to do that a little bit later. But you could pull up this activity card in a classroom, or you could project it with your online classroom. And so with this, the way I played it with my students, we've got 10 jetons, and we're splitting how many children are in one pool and how many children are in the other pool, and finding all the different ways that we could make 10. And so you can see, those are some of my students. So we didn't have anything fancy. The one picture is little stones from the dollar store and writing with a whiteboard marker. The other picture, those are bottle caps from the milk containers that were at our lunch, and just recording our answers on a chalkboard. But you can see all the different ways that the students are finding to make 10. So all those complements of 10, which is the next step on that learning progression. Se rappeler facilement les compléments de 10. So the idea really is, you know, you have access to the cards, the activities, you have access to the little books, you have access to les fiches reproductibles. So you can put it all together. You can figure out how it's going to work for your students. So we're going to continue along the learning progression, and you can see we're getting a little more sophisticated in our thinking. We've gone from the 5s into the 10s, and then those complements of 10s. And now we're thinking maybe of a strategy that we could use, which is using doubles to help us with near doubles. And so this is a game of concentration, like the old school memory game, where you've got those cards available on the Pearson website with the black line masters. And you cut them out and you put them face down, and students will turn over a card and try to find the match. So you can see if we turned over 6 plus 6, and then the match would be 12. Then the next one we turn over is 6 plus 7, and because we've just done that 6 plus 6, we know that we can extend the thinking. So it's easy to think about those sums and differences to solve other equations. So if we know 6 plus 6 is 12, we know that it's just one more in 7 plus 6 to make our match of 13. And that's the next step in that continuum. Utiliser des sommes et des différences connues pour résoudre de nouvelles. I can't even say this word today. I'm not sure why. All right. So as we continue to move along, we're moving up to 20 now. And this again is an activity card from grade 1, Allons à la pêche, with les cartes de saumon et les cartes de réponse qui sont disponibles en ligne. So in those fiches reproductibles. And you can look, when we get into Mathologie.ca, you'll be able to see the teacher cards there with the instructions. But just to let you know, so we're going to have our salmon cards in a pile. We're going to kind of put them all over the table. And players can take turns turning a card and placing it on le napperon d'addition. And then together, they're going to find the answer card that's going to go with the salmon cards that they put down. And so there we're looking at additionner et soustraire avec aisance des quantités jusqu'à 20. And this is a strategy game. So this is actually from the grade 2 kit, and it is in English because the grade 2 kit is not yet available on Mathologie.ca, but this card is available on Mathologie.ca, and you can see there's not a lot of English. So it's something that you could use with your students. And this game, we have to think about not only the addition, but we have to think about a little bit of strategy. So you can see the cards down at the bottom that get printed off. And so a student, player A, might pick their first card, so 8 plus 7, and they're going to choose where to put their jeton to find the answer. So maybe there. And then player B is going to pick up their card, and they've got 13 moins 6. So they've got to make a decision as to which number they're going to cover up. And you can see there's a few different options. But if they're thinking strategy, they might want to stay close because the goal is to get 4 dots in a line. So then it's back to player A, 14 moins 9. So they've got to think about where they're going to place their jeton. And 7 plus 7. So you can see a few different options for where player B might put their jeton. And if they're thinking they've played this before, maybe they're going to play a little strategy and block their opponent. And so here we're continuing along. Développer des stratégies mentales et des algorithmes efficaces pour résoudre des équations comprenant des nombres à plusieurs chiffres. And we can see again some differentiation, not just with the line masters, but with the other side of that activity card. We can see it's a little simpler with 3 in a line. We might want to use a multi-use card, like a 10-frame card, to support our learners. And then available online, we've got the option for a little bit of extension. So maybe we want to use this with one of our groups of students that's a little further along, or if we want to work with combined grades. And again, that's available on Pearson's website. So next up, we're going to look at estimation. So our question here, 48 plus 37. Think about what you would estimate the answer to be. So how might a student estimate what the answer is? So throw something in the chat box if you think of it. What do you think one of your students might do here?
Um, 50 plus 40, 50 plus 40, and then minus 5.
So as we reach this point in the continuum, as we're moving up, our students are fluently adding and subtracting. So what we want to think about here is how they might use estimation to support the reasonableness of their solution. So we know that often when we ask children to estimate, they just want to be right. So it's up to us to help them to understand that we're estimating to support the reasonableness of their answer. So then they might be able to start thinking of some of those strategies. So let's look through some of these strategies. So we put in the estimation 50 plus 40. One thing that our students might use here is the number line. So using that 48, adding 30, adding 2, adding 5, and moving along so that we come to that 85. We might have some students that are figuring it out a little bit more, and they might start breaking into tens and ones. So they break the 48 into the 40 and the 8, and the 37 into the 30 and the 7, and then add together the tens, add together the ones, and then put it together. We might have students that are working through adding on to and taking away from. So adding 2 onto the 48, taking that 2 away from the 37. And we might have some students that are already at the point where they understand these strategies and are most efficient quickly doing it in an algorithm because they understand breaking of tens and ones, and they understand going to friendly numbers, and they already understand jumps of 10 and moved into really fluent use of the algorithm. So, estimer la somme et la différence de nombres à plusieurs chiffres. Again, moving along that continuum. So when we look at this one big idea that we've moved along, we can see that it's quite a lot. We started with our kindergartners with 5, and then our students moved along working into tens, working on our complements of 10. We went into some strategies using some doubles and some near doubles. We went into adding and subtracting to 20. We pulled in a game with a little bit of strategy as well. We went into some estimation, and then we could move further along, getting into maybe some of the grade 3 materials and looking at complements of 100. So that's just one of the strands. So you can see how the materials can all be fit in there and how we can work through this learning progression with our students and how we can see where they are and how to support them in their next step. So we've looked a little bit at some of the resources from Mathologie. We've looked at, over on the right side, we've looked at the resources, so les trousses d'activité, which are for grade 1 and grade 2 in French in print. And we're going to look at Mathologie.ca, which is going to highlight some of that. We've got the 72 little books from kindergarten to grade 3. Over on the left, you can see some of the professional development. So the books that are out there, the learning progressions in there. And we're going to look next at some professional learning videos and go through Mathologie.ca. So that's the online platform that we're going to use to search, to plan, to teach, to assess, and for a little bit of professional development. So there are the things on Mathologie.ca. So we've got little books and stories. We've got plans. We've got activities. We've got games. We've got videos. And we've got reproducible sheets. So I'm going to take you over there and show you some of the highlights. So this is the opening screen when I get into Mathologie. And I'm going to do it quite a bit quicker than I did if you were on one of the earlier webinars, just to highlight some of the key points here. The big one that we're going to do is the search. So the easiest way to find what you need is to come into the search box here and type in whatever it is that you're looking for. So you can see for Addition, on a 35 résultats. We've got little books that we can use. If we keep scrolling down, we've got some activity cards. We've got some mini lessons. Oh, there's our 10 dans la piscine. We've got some reproducible sheets that we can use, and we've got some extra activities. So now if we go back up, we can quickly go in and refine our search. So if we wanted to go to grade 1, and we wanted to look at little books, and we can look for our strand as well. The other option is to look it up by curriculum, and you can see I'm on an Ontario program. So there's the Ontario curriculum here. Throughout the top are my strands and my overall expectations. I can see my specific expectations, and I can choose what it is that I want to be looking at. So if I'm looking for strategies here, you can see the results from the grade 1 program. And if you enjoy the learning progression like I do, you can also look at the learning progression and search from there. So if we wanted to stay in number, we could go down here. And we were looking at, and we can see here. So this is where we started with our 5s. We got into our 10s, and you can click on the little magnifying glass to see at that point in the learning progression, the activities and the little books that are available.
Can I interrupt you for a second, Jordan?
Can.
So you see Ontario curriculum because you're in Ontario.
That's right.
And there is a question just about searching for other provinces. So if you're from another province, you'll see your curriculum.
Right.
Is that correct? Okay.
Yes. So that's when you sign up and when you set up, that all gets sorted out by the IT people as to what curriculum you have based on the province that you're in. So I see Ontario because I am an Ontario teacher. So those are the quick ways to search. If you want to look at the lessons, so maybe we'll pull up a lesson here in Ça fait 10, and you can see in the little book, we've got a little apropos, so it's what the book is about, the grade 1, petit livret. We're going to cover number. We can look at our math. We can look at our curriculum, where it fits. And we can see down here our progression des apprentissages. So where we are on that learning progression, which we can move along and see what the next steps are. Then we get into the details of the lesson. So we come up here, we've got our book, we've got some discussion points, we've got some ways to present the book. And this is the greatest part about right now, is that you have access to all of these little books. So if you click here in the blue, you can come up to Pearson's Mathologie, and you have access to all of these books, which you can share with parents. So they're split up: kindergarten, grade 1, grade 2, and grade 3. So if we wanted to look at our first book that we explored, Un beau nid, we can see that it comes up. We can listen. So if you're like me and a lot of your parents don't speak French, you can actually listen.
L'oiseau jaune est fatigué de voler. Il voit en bas un nid. Quel bel endroit pour me reposer. Un oiseau jaune se repose dans un beau nid.
We can also see that there's activities that our students can practice online. And we can listen to the instructions.
Comptez jusqu'à 5. Glisse 5 jetons dans la boîte. Est-ce qu'il y en a 5? Clique Afficher le compte pour vérifier. Clique Tout réinitialiser et joue encore.
So then you can move the jetons over. And for more information for parents and teachers on the math concepts, up here. So this was really great for me in the classroom because I had my students work through a listening center on the iPad. So on the back of the book, when you get them in print, you actually get the URL and you get a QR code. So you can send them home for homework. You can have parents listen with their students. And at this point, you can look at everything online. There's also some parent info. So if you click on that little button, you can see that there are letters with ideas to try at home. And those come in French as well as in English. And then we've got some activities. So we've got our grille, and we've got a way that we can model our own little un beau nid. So that's all accessible right now on Pearson's website, English and French. And so you can share the URL for a specific book, or you can share this all with parents. And then, excuse me.
Ask you a quick question?
Yes.
Sorry, a really great question has just come up in the chat is, do you have activities in there to prepare for EQAO?
Ooh. Not specifically EQAO based, but everything that you could link to the learning that you would need for EQAO. Because this is a national resource, not only for Ontario, it would be just pulling the pieces that fit everything in. Okay.
Thank you.
We've got some options next for after the reading, and we've got some additional activities, so things that we can print off through here. So maybe if we wanted to do a Black Line Master about creating our own little story, and that's all available and linked through. And we've got videos for professional development if we as teachers want to learn a little bit more about the concepts that are being discussed.
Can be added and subtracted to determine how many or how much, outlined in Pearson's learning progression. Several Mathologie resources, such as this Grade 2 Little Book, support students in developing understanding and fluency of addition and subtraction.
So you can explore those. I don't want to take up too much of your time today. If we go back to our home screen, just to show you an activity card. This is one of my favorites with my students. And again, we've got the same options at the top. We've got our apropos, we've got les détails, we've got some stuff about évaluation, which I strongly encourage you to play around with, et les ressources connexes. So we can see about the lesson, we can see how much time and the format. We can see again that it's grade 1, that it's an activity, that it's in number sense. We've got some general information on the content, our curriculum links, and then again, the learning progression, which we can see how we move along. Then we get into the details of the lesson itself. So we've got our teacher card up here. We're seeing that it's nombre. We've got the materials that we need. And if there's any additional materials, we've got links straight to those. So it'll take you right to what you need. Then we've got our 3-part lesson, the steps to follow. We've got ways to differentiate. So our accommodations, our extensions, and ways to extend for a combined class. We've got some approfondissements, some consolidations, some things to notice with our students, and some things to have them notice. And then we've got our questions d'approfondissement, which are fantastic. And I'll be honest, the first year I had the activity kit, I didn't spend a lot of time here. I just kind of wanted to figure it out with my students. But then the second time we went through, in the second year that I had it, I really came to appreciate these probing questions. And then down at the bottom here, you can get right into the cards. So we've got the teacher card, which is the overview we saw at the top. We've got a little bit of an assessment, a little bit of an evaluation of where our students are, so the behaviors that we're seeing and the next steps. So we can see it moves along from left to right and then down along the bottom. We've got the cards themselves. So on side A, our students are counting on to 20, and then the option to turn the card over and count from 20 to 1. And to use these now, their little print button is at the bottom. So if you bring it up to the top, you can see here, you can just save this as a PDF and use it in your online classroom. We've got the option to go through a little bit of assessment. So your students would be up here. You can click on them and bring them down into those 6 behaviors that we saw in the back of the card. So it's as easy as dragging and dropping the student in, or selecting multiple students and clicking where you want them. From here, we've got mini lessons. So if we want to extend the learning, we've got mini lesson options for the grade level and some practice options. We've also got some interventions and un peu d'enrichissement. Des idées fausses possibles. So this is, I pulled the estimation one right out of here, but these are some possible things that your students might be doing or not understanding, and some suggestions for that. And then we've got some next steps. So we've got some next steps for in class, but what might be a little more helpful right now is next steps at home. So you can see perhaps a suggestion for another book, some ideas to try, and again, that can be printed and used in your online classroom. And then we've got some word wall ideas and some connected lessons, so you can see on grade level and you can see for year before. And again, you can read through all of that, or you can watch a quick video explaining what might be happening with your students.
Il y a beaucoup de choses auxquelles vous devez prêter attention pendant cette activité. Observez de quelle façon vos élèves déplacent la pièce de jeu. La déplacent-ils d'un espace à la fois pour démontrer la correspondance 1 à 1, ou subutilisent-ils le nombre d'espaces pour faire un seul grand bond?
Vous pouvez également observer de quelle façon vos élèves gardent le compte quand ils comptent à partir d'un nombre. Est-ce qu'ils déplacent la pièce selon le nombre indiqué par le cube numéroté 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 et reviennent ensuite pour compter à partir du nombre 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9?
So those are the features of search and the 2 ideas for lessons that are on there. A few of the features about the website that are really great is that there are some plans that you can pull up. So you've got long range plan options here. You can click on those and see what they look like. There's also an option here for les compétences fondamentales. So if we were sticking with aisance avec les opérations, you can see right in there some of the things we discussed today and a few others that you might use. And you can take this plan and make it your own. So we might say aisance avec les opérations, and then you can see that I can take certain things out if they're not what I want. I can add things in from my bank over on the side. I can move things up and down. I can write comments. And I can even add in URLs from things outside of Mathologie. So if I wanted to use something from, say, Mathies, I could put the URL right in there. You can also look at favorites. So there is a lot of little books, a lot of cards, so much on there. So when you do find your favorites, all you do, if I pull up just a general, all the lessons. So if I really like Garderie pour chien chez Luc, I click on the heart. And it gets whoops, I added it and took it away. But it will then get moved into my favorites. And then I can make my home screen my own by pinning lessons on the front. And to do that, I just go through. If I really wanted to add a Safari, I can put it up there. And when I go back to my home screen, I can see that it's right there ready for me to use really quickly. I also mentioned the assessment piece. So as you assess your students in the lessons, you can then come through and see what it looks like for your class. So you can see, maybe we're trucking along, maybe we're doing quite well, or maybe we need a little more attention. And I can look at that for my whole class. I can also look at it for one student. So I can see where my students are. And I can break that down even more by pulling in what strand. So I can see this student is doing okay in number. We haven't done any measurement yet. And we're coming along in geometry. So that is Mathologie.ca very quickly. Are there any questions as I move back over here?
There haven't been any additional questions, Jordan. Thank you very much for your presentation today. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to unmute, allow everyone to be able to talk. If you would like to ask a question out loud, by all means. If you want to just keep in the chat because you don't want to say it out loud, that's fine too. And then I will ask the question to Jordan. There are some comments there, Jordan, just about how awesome the resource is. Let me just, a question just came up. Is something being developed for grade 4? So I can actually answer that, Jordan. Mathologie.ca for grade 2 will be available for back to school this year. And we are going to be working on grade 3 en français. So for next, that will be available for next year in the spring. And grade 4 in English, they haven't started grade 4 yet because they're finishing grade 3 in English. then they'll be starting grade 4 in English. When it's complete in English, then we will be translating it appropriate for immersion for grade 4. So I don't know exact timelines, but I would say end of 2021 to 2022 would be for grade 4. Jordan, there is a question on, can you show step-by-step on how we get parents onto the site? I would like them to join the game that goes with the Petit Livret.
Okay, so to get parents on, you can just go to Pearson's website. So you can send this URL right at the top if you want access for all of the books. If you want to just abonner, you can send that URL. So you can just copy that and paste it onto whatever platform you're using. You can also do the same with the PDF of the letter and the activities for at home.
I have given everybody permission to speak, so you're all on mute, but you would just have to unmute your own microphone. And then if you wanted to ask a question out loud, you could. The other thing I want to say is that we will be going in French immersion, we'll be going right up to grade 9 for Mathologie.
Maybe just if there are questions, you can type them in, just a few reminders, so that there are the little books with the access, that you can listen, that you can try the activities, that you can use the activities and the parent letters, so ideas for at home, that you can print the PDF of the card, post it on your online platform, that the fiches reproductibles are all available on Pearson's webpage. And then just a little bit of guidance and guidelines for sharing at this time in this online learning time.
Jordan, one other thing, in for those that do have are already in the program, we have put a note in the program that we have for Mathologie, we have office hours for twice a week. There is one of our digital experts has office hours. So I'm just not sure exactly, because I haven't seen it where you would see it, but I think it's when you log in. Up at the top there, yeah.
So right up here, if you click, there's details for webinars that are coming up. And every Tuesday and Thursday from 3 to 4 in French, you can get that question and answer session. It's also available, I think, most mornings in English. So there's the link right there. So you could join that if you have any specific questions.
And a lot, I know at least for the French, I know that Kelly, who is our digital expert, it's pretty much a one-on-one. So if you do register for that, it's either one-on-one or there might be a second person there, but she can help you through if you're having any specific issues in accessing or trying to find something. She can definitely help you with that.
And so this is where you can find access to all les fiches reproductibles. All right, so when I want to find this, I just go into search and I type Pearson Mathologie, and it takes me to this right away. And you can see that they're all there. And if you haven't had a chance to sign up yet, and you want to take your free trial of Mathologie.ca, you can click here, and you've got access until the 30th of June. And then the webinars as well.
So the next French webinar that Jordan will be doing is on Monday.
Yes.
Monday at 2 o'clock, and you can sign up where you would have signed up for this one, which is from the school homepage. There's for Pearson, there's right in the center of the homepage, there is a big box that says webinars. And when you go there, just click on FSL, and then it'll take you right to the French webinars to register. We do have another webinar happening tonight at 5:30 for Mathologie. Now this one is just an overview. So if you were at the overviews that Jordan did last week, it's just very similar to that. It's not going to be led by Jordan because she needs a break, but Kelly, who is our digital expert and the one who does have those office hours we just spoke about, she will be on that call tonight, as will I. And it is, yes, today at 5:30, and it is really an overview of Mathologie.ca, and similar to what Jordan did, is she's going to be going through all of the digital features and how to find things and what's there when you click on it. So you're more than welcome to join us for any of those. And I just see another question about recording of today's webinar, and yes, you will receive the recording. Probably tomorrow you will get an email from somebody on our sales team. They will be sending you a link to the recording. And if you want any information, if you're not already doing the trial, they can help you with that trial as well. I'm just seeing, I think that's it for questions. So just before everyone starts leaving, thank you so much for spending time today with Jordan. Thank you, Jordan, for doing a fantastic presentation. I did see in the chat that somebody found it really easy to navigate and loves it so much. So thank you for your amazing comments. And as you can see, it really is easy to navigate. But if you are having any issues when you're in it, or you're just doing a trial for the first time, please do take advantage of those office hours. They'll be really helpful.
Thank you, everyone, for spending your afternoon with me learning about math.
If you